weeks away. Today, a big part of our focus is on the potential #1 overall pick, USC quarterback Sam Darnold, throwing at USC's Pro Day. He just started throwing, and so we're going to cover it live throughout the show. Right now, our coverage continues from LA. Jeff Darlington leads the way. This, the most anticipated of the top quarterbacks, as Sam Darnold did not throw at the Combine. Jeff, take it away.
Well, he didn't throw at the Combine, but he is throwing here, starting his throwing session just about 10 minutes ago as the storm clouds look like they're moving in. The fortunate side of this is that we expected rain to be here earlier. It looks like Darnold is going to get the chance to escape that as he does kind of undergo some of his route trees here. It looks sharp so far, guys, but we're going to be showing you more throughout this show as he gets started out here.
Guys, the Pro Day has been going well, and we got to beat the rain, so that's good. But, hey, he might be playing in Cleveland anyway, so if he's playing in Cleveland, don't we want to see a little bad weather and some rain?
And this was actually much to the chagrin of scouts and personnel people who wanted to see him have to throw through some adversity. But the bottom line here, it's just cloud cover at this point. What's the main thing that we're looking from Sam Darnold today?
For me, Susie, it's always about accuracy at pro days like this, where it's set up for him to succeed. Look, he should be very comfortable in his surroundings with wide receivers that he's familiar with, kind of executing a program here that has already been scripted for him. Now, that doesn't mean it won't be challenging, but you expect him to show his best at moments like this, and you expect the ball to not hit the ground on his accord. Now, if receivers drop it or don't run routes properly, that's one thing. But you want to see a guy here, when you're talking about a guy who could be the top pick overall, you want to see him light it up. You want it to be extraordinary, and anything less than that, quite honestly, becomes a little bit disappointing.
And you know what's kind of cool? You look around and see all the people. Look over Sam Darnold's right shoulder. There's Mike McCagnon, the Jets GM in the vest. The Jets having just traded up for the #3 overall pick. Spotted there today, the Browns contingent, John Dorsey, Hugh Jackson, Todd Haley, Ken Zampese. The Giants contingent, Pat Shurmur, Mike Shula. The Jets contingent, Mike McCagnon, Todd Bowles, Jeremy Bates. The Cardinals, Steve Keim, Steve Wilkes, Mike McCoy, Byron Leftwich, and the Chargers, Anthony Lynn, Ken Wizard. And all there, all taking in this moment right now.
Yeah, no, it's a star-studded event. All 32 teams are represented there today. But, guys, the biggest thing really with Darnold, the things that most teams are concerned about, you can't really see at a pro day, whether it's turnovers or that kind of a thing. So if that's not what we can get out of this, what can we get out of this?
I think that's you hit the point, Susie, when you said, though, the things that are his problems, we don't get to learn about today. I got to watch Sam Darnold from field level against Arizona State this year, and I remember the first comeback he throws in pregame. I look at my son and I say, oh, he got it. Because you saw the ball jump out of his hand. You saw the arm talent. You saw the velocity in the way in which the ball traveled through the air. So I think those things are going to be very evident today. And you heard Lewis talk about watching a guy throw to receivers he's comfortable with. You watch a guy go through a script on days like this. You're going to still have to go back to the film and weigh what you see today, the way he throws the ball, the way he moves around, and what is a scripted day of throwing, compare it to the tape. And do you think that's enough to make him your #1 overall draft pick and franchise quarterback?
Yeah, what's interesting, that's a great point. What's interesting to me is a day like today, for me, doesn't justify whether or not he's worth being the #1 pick overall, because it's supposed to be set up for you to succeed. So it's not really a true test of what, to me, would determine whether or not the guy is #1 pick overall. A lot of that has to do with, okay, what do we see on film? Do we like it enough, and can we correct the things that we don't like based on how he plays 11 on 11? Because you're right, no one's swatting at him, Susie. No one's doing those kinds of things that he struggled with.
Earlier in the day, listening to Jordan Palmer, who's his quarterback coach, he's coached a lot of the top prospects, including Deshaun Watson last year. And he talked about some of the things they've been working on, just mechanics in the pocket, that he is not hunching over, certain things like that. So there are some mechanics he's been working on that everyone can take something away.
Well, the other thing I would say is they're all at the pro day, but if the Browns have an interest in Sam Darnold, and they do, they're going to work him out privately.
Sure.
If the Jets have an interest in Sam, they're going to work him out privately. So, in a way, this, to me, is semi-futile because these teams are going to get to see their guy, the guy that they want, up close and personal. So, yes, he didn't throw at the Combine. And so everybody is anticipating this day and this moment right now with Sam Darnold making these types of throws. But the fact of the matter is, these teams that are considering him, and it may not be beyond one in this draft anyway, they're going to get their own private look at him to see what they want.
Lewis, I have a question, kind of a front office question. When Sam Darnold decides to not compete and to not throw at the combine versus some of these guys we're going to be weighing him against, how do front office execs and GMs feel about that part of the process, the competitor part of the process?
You know, Ryan, we talked about that a lot, too, at the combine. That was a lot of times it's like an annoyance. Like you're annoyed that he doesn't do it because you'd like to say, hey, look, we know that the combine's not set up for you to succeed because you don't know these receivers and they run the routes differently at the combine than they're taught at actual NFL camps. But everybody's in the same boat. The cream rises to the top. So if you're one of the baddest dudes out here, you're going to wind up looking better than everyone else eventually anyway. Nobody really gets too mad about it anymore and goes, you know what, we got to check him down on character anymore. Because we understand that a lot of this is agent-driven. A lot of this is, look, I mean, when you have the juice, when you have the leverage, when you know really where you stand, what are you going to do about it?
And he's got the juice, and he's got the leverage.
He's got the juice now.
So it's more of an annoyance. Like, you would ideally like to see him compete, but if he doesn't, you swallow it and you move on.
And I think he goes into this process, I think, as the favorite to be the #1 pick. Now, again, we'll see how it shakes out. There's still 36 days left to the draft, and teams will have their private workouts, and they'll meet with these players and do their own tape study. But the fact of the matter is, I think right now going in, he's the favorite, and we'll see whether the Browns go in that direction.
And Ryan, to your point, one of his top receivers was not able to work out today, so that's a little bit of adversity to face. In addition to now the rain is falling, which, as we mentioned, this is something that scouts and personnel people were hoping would happen. So he is faced with a little additional adversity for his pro day. So for more, let's send you out to the Cromwell Field, usually home to track and field, but today home to USC's pro day, and Jeff Darlington.
Well, Susie, I mentioned not but 7 minutes ago that the rain was holding off. The rain is now coming down. I am joined by Todd McShay and
meteorologist Keyshawn Johnson.
Yes.
I was wrong.
Keyshawn tried to tell me right before, man. I don't have it right that the rain was still far away because he couldn't smell it. But hey, we're out here watching Sam Darnold right now, and hey, I'm no scout, but he looks pretty good to me. Todd, you tell me, how does he look to you?
I've seen one throw that was a little bit underthrown, and every other throw has been perfectly on time. The interesting thing is what Jordan Palmer designed this program to be was to get him uncomfortable and to give him throws that were anticipation throws and throwing on the move before he's ready, and sometimes throwing late. And so he's trying to put him purposely in difficult situations. And we've seen a couple times, Keyshawn, the ball come out real early, and it's on purpose because they're designing that as if a defender came loose up the middle and he's got to get the ball out. And that happens. And I don't remember 50 throws in or 40 throws in seeing a guy as deadly accurate at his pro day like we've seen here from Darnold. Josh Allen is going to wow people in Wyoming in a couple of days with his big arm, but this has been for guys who understand what you're looking to do and accomplish, this has been one of the most impressive pro days from an accuracy and ball placement standpoint that I've seen.
You look at it, Todd, like you said, just the balls are all over the place and none are on the ground.
Right.
That's what you look for in a quarterback, zipping the ball, not only in front of his home crowd, but also the weather. I mean, this is not something that he's used to doing, but when you got the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets and the Giants all in the house looking at quarterbacks, he certainly has showcased his skill set as far as zipping the football with accuracy, despite not having his lead receiver in Dante Burnett in the lineup for him today, Jeff.
And we should point out that there are some big names around the NFL out here. Hugh Jackson of the Cleveland Browns, they hold the #1 overall pick, potential prospect there. The entire Jets brass, including Mike McCagnon, the general manager, Todd Bowles, the head coach, he's out here watching as well. What more can Darnold prove to these scouts, to these teams, that he deserves to be the #1 overall pick?
Well, I think at this point, this is nice and it's a good showcase. And I know talking to Jordan before the workout that they wanted the rain to come. They were rooting for it because it's an opportunity, as you said, Keyshawn, to show teams that play in inclement weather. Cleveland, could be the Buffalo Bills moving up, could be the Giants, it could be and then the Jets picking at #3 after their trade recently. They wanted to show that, hey, this Southern Cal kid can throw in the rain. I actually covered him 2 years ago against Notre Dame, and he threw the ball pretty well in that game, and it was an absolute downpour. And you haven't seen his accuracy. That ball was dropped, obviously, by the receiver, but you haven't seen his accuracy drop at all. from when it was sunny in the beginning of his workout session to the last 20 or so throws where it's been raining. And so, to me, this is nice. It's good to see him in the rain. But I think the most important part for all of these quarterbacks, whether it's Darnold, Rosen, Allen, Mayfield, is when they go in for their personal visits, their private visits to the facilities of these NFL teams, the Cleveland Browns, the Jets, the Bills, the Giants, how they act, how they retain knowledge, how they perform when put on the board. Because that ultimately, I think so many of these teams are looking at these quarterbacks saying, you know, there's not a huge difference. We like one because of this reason, or like the other because he can do this. But you want to be wowed by a guy when you meet with him privately, and I think that's going to be the biggest key moving forward.
The private meetings are key because the knowledge level that Sam Darnold has right now is small in terms of understanding the football game and how to play the quarterback position, because he's still relatively young at it, where a guy like Josh Rosen, as I said earlier, has more of a Peyton Manning feel. He's the guy who understands everything on the field as far as playing the quarterback position. But that's not to say that Sam can't get up to speed very fast. And if you're taking Sam Darnold, you're not taking him to play immediately, because one of the things that you got to have with a guy like that is necessarily protection, but guys that are around him to make him better. Where a Josh Rosen guy, if you have those players around him that can really do some things, then you can insert him into the lineup immediately because he's been there. He's done it a little bit longer than Darnold. But I like Sam. I don't know. Maybe it's my SC in me, and I've watched him for a long time, but I like his mechanics. I like his footwork. I like his head and eyes down the field, how he manipulates the football in terms of different route combinations, as you alluded to, with Jordan kind of putting things together. Jordan made sure that this was the best situation for Sam to succeed and not put him in a bad spot.
We should point out, you guys are referencing Jordan Palmer, brother of Carson Palmer, who does work with Sam Darnold throughout the offseason to get him ready for this draft process. Let's point something out, because the rain is really starting to come down right now.
It's pouring.
And it's pretty unusual at a pro day, because generally teams will just go indoors, whether it's Michigan. I was in Norman, Oklahoma. That was indoors. This is pretty unusual.
Our real estate is pricey here, just in case you don't know that.
That's right. They don't have the indoor facility to go inside, do they, at all?
No, we don't have. Our indoor facility is probably 30 yards or so, and that's not enough to get everything done that you want to get done.
So this is a pretty unusual opportunity,
very
we'll
unusual.
call it.
Exactly. And, I mean, you look at that throw. I mean, he is
that was a thing of beauty on the corner route right there.
He's placing them exactly where you want each ball to be placed. And this is pouring right now.
Keyshawn, is it raining yet?
Yeah, Jeff, you got me on that one, Jeff. It's raining and it's coming down. This actually looks like something that would be in MetLife Stadium, something that would be in Cleveland in terms of the weather, Seattle, places that you would think that a quarterback from the West Coast can't thrive in, but he's showing the day with his ball accuracy and how his foot works and mechanics. Look at that right there. He drops back on a play action, rolls out, no slippage in anything, and just a dime.
I mean,
a dime.
His passes are on point. The only drops I've seen have been basically when it looks like the ball is slipping out of the receiver's hands.
Hey, listen.